My name is Dee Moskis, and I'm chair of the committee for the Thomas Green Awards. I appreciate everyone coming out on this third day of rain. Our host this afternoon is Assumption College, and we would like to ask the president, Dr. Charasso, to come up and give opening remarks.
Thank you, Dee. And good afternoon, and I'd like to welcome you once again to Assumption College. As many of you know, there has been a long history of relationship between Assumption College and the Research Bureau. And for many years, the Worcester Regional Research Bureau was actually housed here on the campus of Assumption College. So it's a great pleasure for us to host again the annual Thomas S. Green Public Service Awards. I want to especially recognize Roberta Schaefer for her leadership of the Worcester Regional Research Bureau, along with the staff and board members of the Research Bureau who are here with us this afternoon. I'd also like to welcome our elected officials here, City Manager O'Brien, Representative Lou Evangelitis, School Superintendent of the Worcester Public Schools, Dr. Melinda Boone, and if I forgot anyone else, I'm sorry, but all of you who are here this afternoon representing your various constituencies. It is fitting that we host these awards because one of the important responsibilities of a college is to contribute to the community in which it finds itself by the various services it provides to the community in terms of the expertise of its faculty and staff, the volunteer hours of students, and the programs that it offers. Assumption College, for example, last year our students gave 85,000 hours of community service to Worcester. It's an important contribution to the life of the city. Assumption College has always nurtured in its students and staff the sense of responsibility to give back to the community and to serve the common good. And that is why hosting these awards each year makes sense for Assumption College, because these awards resonate so much with our mission as we honor this afternoon 5 individuals who have made outstanding contributions to public service, distinguishing themselves from their colleagues by the exemplary way in which they carry out on a daily basis their responsibilities. On behalf of Assumption College, I wish to congratulate each of you for all that you have done and express my gratitude for modeling what it means to be a public servant, putting the needs of others first before your own needs. At times we can get cynical about the society in which we live in, but this award and these recipients remind us of the many unsung heroes and heroines in our society and of the goodness that is still very much alive in our city and in our region that does indeed make a difference. So I welcome you to Assumption College this afternoon, and I look forward to our continued relationship with the Worcester Regional Research Bureau. Thank you. Congratulations.
Worcester has been fortunate to have City Manager Michael O'Brien be a Chief Executive Officer. To give the greetings of the City Administration, Manager O'Brien.
Thank you, Dee. It's indeed a pleasure to be here this evening. And it's a great day sometimes just for one of our life's smallest of pleasures. And word is, and you heard it here, the sun is going to shine tomorrow. You're not kidding. I've had the unique honor to be the city manager of an incredible community for over 6 years and to lead and serve with our employees that truly understand the concept of public service and service above self. In my over 16 years of service at all levels of city government, I've gained a unique perspective and insights into the level of dedication of our employees throughout city government. The highest levels of integrity and honesty, the real desires to do a great job, to help and to assist, to make a difference, to serve the public. It makes you proud. It makes me extremely, extremely proud. And it's not the headlines. It's the work in the middle of the night to address the worst that Mother Nature has to throw at us. Other tasks, often in very horrible conditions, often under extreme pressure, often with their lives on the line, doing more with less, thinking outside the box, finding solutions to seemingly impossible challenges, and not for awards or for recognition. It is the pride in their work, public service. City government has changed dramatically. Reorganizations, reductions, reforms, redeployments, realignments, new technology and new ways of doing business, all to adapt to an evolving world around us. We've gone from an organization of 1,700 employees just a few years ago to likely 1,400 this year, and by next year we may be just over 1,250 employees. And time again, these dedicated folks, our employees, rise to that challenge. We're now faced with doing less with less, but already there are new ideas and new solutions underway to serve our citizens, meet expectations, and preserve and protect our quality of life. I'd like to thank the Research Bureau and Dr. Roberta Schaefer and her staff, Jeannie, Laura, and Stephen, as well as the members of the Green Awards Committee, as well as the vision and memory of Thomas Green. That all of us, that we take this moment from our busy lives once a year to thank and recognize and applaud those employees who embody the spirit I detailed earlier, that lead by example, that set the tone that we all follow, that I take away, even as city manager, so much from what they do in my role. Tonight's honorees share the qualities embodied by the Thomas S. Green Award: leadership, a positive work ethic, enthusiasm, a willingness to go above and beyond the scope of their job description to better serve the public. Though the honorees' job duties are diverse in nature, from forestry to the classroom, from the administrative and customer service to public safety, each brings a shared trait to the workplace each day. That is, your commitment to assist the public in the best way possible and to do it with patience and a kind word. You are exceptional. I'm grateful for the hard work and efforts of our 3 city employees that are being honored today. They assist me every day and our entire team to better serve the residents of the city, and I'm proud to have them on my team. Brian Brevillari, Head Forester, Worcester Department of Public Works and Parks. These are his words: can do, get it done, make it happen, bang it out, and get it done right. Leading the battle here in the city against Asian longhorn beetle, typically out in the middle of the night, away from his family, at times like last year, fighting a biblical ice storm, but more importantly, motivating and inspiring our entire community and his team to find the silver lining through all of that, through large-scale tree replantings citywide. And I'll tell you this, I had the pleasure of hiring Brian when I was the commissioner of Parks and Recreation. He has a level of intensity that I'm convinced he can bend spoons with his mind. Good man. Ellen Dahlback, head of our Customer Service Department of Public Works and Parks. And I got to tell you, again, my firsthand experience in dealing with her. No matter what the problem, no matter how irate the citizen or how great the challenge seems to be, through ice storms and floods, she responds time and time and again, consistently resolves these challenges, delivering the best customer service, always with a smile and a positive attitude. And then Edward J. McGinn from our police department, our deputy chief, serving with honor and integrity as does the whole department, a leader and a shining example of what our police department can do day in and day out, keeping our community safe, as well as a true neighborhood advocate. I have the distinct pleasure, at least once a month, to sit in the Chiefs Roundtable, where all command staff comes together on Tuesday to review crime stats, to review the trends and other problems that we have in our community, and to think collectively on how to solve those and keep our community safe. And at that table, the deputy chiefs, our Ed, the captains, doing incredible work. Keep this in mind with that leadership. We're down over 70 officers in the Worcester Police Department, yet we remain one of the safest communities in New England. That alone speaks to the type of effort done day in and day out by Ed and the entire team. And it says a lot about those employees, but it also says a lot about their families that give them the support day in and day out to do that job, to focus in with that level of intensity on their roles in city government, and to make all of our lives a better place. So I just want to take a moment and certainly ask for a round of applause for those families that support these dedicated employees. I ask a lot of our employees, especially these days, as I mentioned earlier, tighter budgets, less resources, more demands. But it's individuals like these before you who step up to the plate every time, working smarter and harder to get the job done that will continue to help our community flourish and to thrive. So on behalf of our city and its residents, I want to thank you, all of you, for your dedicated service, and once again congratulate you on your well-deserved award. I commend you all, including those from surrounding towns, on a job well done. Thank you.
We have a new superintendent of schools in Worcester, and we're pleased to have her here for the first time. Dr. Boone will speak on behalf of the public schools.
Good afternoon. It's indeed a pleasure and an honor for me to have a chance to share in this, my first Thomas S. Green Public Service Awards. One of the things we know in successful organizations and successful communities is the need to reward and celebrate, and we don't do enough of this in this country. It is very easy for us to always focus on the bad stories, the negative comments, but we have to stand back and celebrate those unsung heroes who always go above and beyond the call. And so today I say to all of the honorees, congratulations and thank you for serving your community so well. There's one particular honoree that I do want to make a few comments about, and that's Donald Brown, who's an 8th grade science teacher at Forest Grove Middle School. There are many folks who say and who believe that teachers are self-serving and selfish, and that they simply are in it for a paycheck, and that the unions or whatever drive the agenda. But then there are teachers like Donald Brown, who's more than a teacher. He's an educator. He focuses on the needs of his students, the support of his colleagues, and he sees it not as a job, but as a career, a calling, and his passion. And it's because of that he's so well respected by his colleagues at Forest Grove Middle School, by the administrative staff, the principal, the parents, and importantly, the students. And when we found out that Worcester Public Schools would have an honoree this afternoon, Donald, I think you know my administrative assistant, Brenda Sullivan. And the best words that I learned about Donald came from Brenda. She said he's one of the finest teachers that she had ever met in her long career with Worcester Public Schools. And so what better to say than share those words? The goal of education is to help students become lifelong learners. We sit in this room today valuing and appreciating the arts and literature, sports, science, mathematics, whatever it is, we value it because that was instilled in us through our parents, our families, and most importantly, our teachers. Donald Brown is one of those teachers, one of those educators, whose students will always come back and celebrate their 8th grade science experience with him. With his award-winning robotics team, he is helping students find that relevance between the content of science and the real-life application. So Donald Brown, on behalf of the Worcester Public Schools and our school committee and the community of Worcester, congratulations on your recognition today.
Thank you. From the back of the room, I would ask the mayor to come up and give remarks on behalf of the city of Worcester. We appreciate, he is also new to this award ceremony.
Good afternoon. You trade one O'Brien for another. Mike O'Brien comes in, Joe O'Brien comes behind him. So, although, like I said, he's got much better hair and actually much better put together. So, I'm trying to learn from him, but he's terrific. But thank you. It's really an honor and a privilege to be here today and to be here with all of you to say a few words of appreciation at this wonderful event about some really wonderful people. I'd like to start just by thanking the Worcester Municipal Research Bureau and the organizations that are sponsoring this award. I'd also like to thank the members of the committee for their work in selecting the recipients, and to our friends from Assumption College who were kind enough even to let me park out front. What more could you ask for? But thank you for hosting this, and I know you're doing wonderful things for our community, so thank you so much. You know, in reading the biographies of the award recipients this afternoon, I was reminded about how fortunate we are to have such dedicated public employees in the great city of Worcester. These men and women have done remarkable records of accomplishments, and on behalf of the city family, I would like to express our deepest gratitude for your work. And I also would be, I think, a little remiss if I did not also recognize that too often, and I include myself in this group, that people in the community don't fully appreciate the work that our public employees do every day. And sometimes I think it's easy to forget that. These award recipients are indeed special and indeed unique in so many ways, but they are not unique to our city. Our schools, our city hall, and our public safety stations are filled with countless dedicated public servants who do remarkable things every day and who never really get the recognition that they deserve. And, you know, and I think these folks here, and I think they probably all would agree with me, for all the remarkable things they do, are just reflective of the incredible people that serve the public on a day-to-day basis. So I think it's really important we recognize that. You know, too often, I think as a society, we focus on the rare moments, and they are very rare. When one of our city family members maybe falls down, and that makes the big headline, right? But the reality is that every day, countless times every day, people such as these are doing amazing things in classrooms, in our street, in our city offices, and that never makes a headline. That doesn't even make page B17, you know, and that's really the tragedy. And I think that's why these awards are so critically important. You know, just real quickly, two quick stories, and I know I'm a little bit over time, but I spent a couple weeks ago, I was touring one of our inner city schools, and remarkable, you know, crumbling building, lots of challenges, antiquated technology, lots of kids with incredible challenges they face every day. And I went to a bunch of classrooms, and it really almost brings tears to your eyes, the remarkable dedication of the people that are working in that school. And just the other day, I had an officer stop by who works in my neighborhood, who I've known for a number of years because he's a thoughtful officer who meets the community, gets out there every day, who was just stopping by to give me an update about a neighbor who's had some tough issues with their family, some abuse issues, and he goes out there every day and takes extra time, even if it puts him a little bit behind his schedule to do all the things that he's supposed to do, to check on that person just to make sure they're okay. Little things that happen, and as I know the folks who are here, those are the kind of folks that are just doing miracles every day in the city. So I'm enormously grateful. I know at the end I'll get to present a couple little small tokens of our city's appreciation, but I want to thank you. I apologize for maybe taking a little bit too much time, but thank you so much. And I got to give a special, you know, word of shout out to my great friend Brian Brevillari, who taught me how to plant a tree and has done some great stuff as well. You know, who knew all those things? And you never argue with a forester who's over 6 feet and a couple 100 pounds. So thank you so much.
We also have at Holden a new Chief Executive Officer, and Nancy Galkowski will give the greetings for the Municipal Administration at Holden. Nancy?
Thank you, Dee. It's a privilege to be here this afternoon representing the town of Holden. And on behalf of the town, I'd like to thank the Worcester Regional Research Bureau, its Board of Directors, and the Thomas S. Green Awards Committee for publicly recognizing and honoring these exemplary public employees for their commitment in serving our citizens. I'm especially honored that the Bureau has reached out to the greater Worcester area to recognize the employees who serve their respective communities. As I read the requirements for being honored with the Thomas S. Green Award for Public Service and the biographies of the individuals who have received it previously and who are receiving it this evening, I was impressed with the dedication and commitment that these individuals have in serving their communities. I have the privilege of working with Judy Sykes, the Town of Holden recipient, every day. And every day I see her handle citizens' issues with professionalism, politeness, and fairness, and take on projects which go well beyond the scope of her job. When you think of the assets that we need to run our cities and towns, you often think of trucks and ambulances and buildings, things. But our most important asset is our employees. The employees who work with our citizens and handle their issues and concerns each and every day. It's the public employees who sandbag homes during floods, who in Holden's case keep the lights on, who plow our roads, who respond to emergencies, who teach our children, and who treat every person who walks through the door with respect and concern for their issue. The honored award recipients here tonight have made a difference to those citizens by going above and beyond their job in an effort to serve our citizens. It is through their diligence and dedication to those very citizens that makes our communities work. They don't ask for accolades, but they deserve them. These 5 individuals, honored here today for their exemplary service, are an inspiration to all employees who work to make our communities better places to live and work. They are also an inspiration and serve as role models to the other people who are entering the ranks of public service. I congratulate them for receiving the Thomas S. Green Award and thank them for everything they do every day to improve the lives of our citizens. Brian Bevaleri, Donald Brown, Ellen Dahlbeck, Edwin McGinn, and Judy Sykes, thank you for everything you do for your city and town. And I also want to thank the Research Bureau for allowing us the opportunity to publicly say to these employees, thank you for everything you do. We appreciate it and we honor you. Thank you.
I would like to recognize the elected officials who've cooperated with the Bureau on this award, and I believe Senator Harriet Chandler is here, and Representative Lou Evangelitis is here, and Kim Ferguson, the Chairman of the Board of Selectmen of Holden. Thank you for coming today and supporting the event. Why don't we get started on the presentation of the awards, and we're going to have Barbara Clifford make the first presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. For the last several years, I have been very, very fortunate to serve on the board of the Research Bureau and to present one of the Thomas S. Green Awards. This, quite honestly, is a very rewarding task because those of us who serve on the committee, we get to read about and discuss the many unsung heroes who support this entire region in so many wonderful ways. Each year when the Thomas S. Green Committee begins to meet, many months prior to this night, each of us sees that hidden within the infrastructure of the city and town governments is an amazing core of very talented and committed public servants who really take great pride in their work, and they all make our lives a little bit brighter and a little bit richer through their dedication and commitment. In the winter of 2009, the leaders of the municipalities of Worcester and the surrounding towns submitted many, many worthy nominees to be considered for this very prestigious public service award. It's really such an honor to be part of this program tonight because it shines the spotlight on individuals who perform their work with diligence, integrity, and joy. Tonight, I have the pleasure of introducing a very special man named Donald Brown, who had actually an incredibly fascinating career even prior to his entry into our education system as a Forest Grove Middle School science teacher. So I just want to share briefly some of Mr. Brown's achievements include working with the new U.S. Navy on 12 different submarines, as well as helping launch a few rockets from submarines at Cape Canaveral in Florida. That's the first. I'm only going to tell you a few. There's a lot of them. The second, receiving a Naval Achievement Award, which is actually the highest non-combat naval achievement award that the Navy gives, for inventing the mapping system that actually charts out the Atlantic Ocean floor. I kid you not. He's our science teacher, so pretty amazing. He also directed a naval planetarium, and then later in his career, the Alice G. Wallace Planetarium in Fitchburg. And the last amazing detail here is he was hired by Paramount Studios to actually assist in creating the soundtrack for that fabulous movie, The Hunt for Red October. all right? Paramount received an Academy Award, and I am sure it was in part for the amazing soundtrack that you probably all recall, one of my favorite movies. And now for some description for the real reason that Don Brown is receiving an award this evening. So, according to Forest Grove principal Mark Williams, who nominated Don Brown, he said, "The content matter found in the textbooks is not enough for Mr. Brown. He finds a wide variety of ways to incorporate hands-on activities into his classes, and he lets his students become scientists with him." Yes, with him. He's a scientist, and they become scientists too. Don is responsible for teaching 5 sections of 8th grade science, but he does a gazillion more things to make science truly come alive for his students. Among many of his extracurricular activities, he is the advisor of the robotics team, as you mentioned. Literally an award-winning team that has won several recognition awards, including the Innovate Award, the Amaze Award, and the Judges Award. So when I met Don after one of his classes earlier in March, I was really surprised. I came at the appointed time and I walked into the middle of a robotics team meeting. So I decided to use it as a unique opportunity to chat with Don, but also to chat with some of the students about their teacher. So I found it very fascinating that there were 2 students, they're a little older than the rest. They were 2 Doherty High School students, and they were assisting Don and the robotics team. So one was a senior named Joe, and then there was a sophomore named Lynn. And it seems that the interest level in exceptional robotics work does not simply end because the student moves on to high school. One of the robotics team members, named Nabil, he told me, "I like the stories Mr. Brown tells in class about his experience in submarines. He converts his stories into exactly what we are learning right now." And then according to Chow Tran, he said, "He is really fun in class and he makes us want to learn. He is the best science teacher ever." So, you may find Mr. Brown and one of his classes walking through this path that he actually created between the Forest Grove School and Indian Lake for the purpose of collecting water samples to test in the lab. That would not be unusual, so don't be surprised. So what I found that this remarkable educator does every day is he really makes it real for his students and for the members of the after-school clubs, bringing his big real-life experiences to our students and actually showing them that anything is possible in their world. And lastly, before we invite Don to accept his award, I would like to say that in addition to the students that love you and are impressed with everything you do, that your wife Betty, your children, your grandchildren, who are many of them here today, are very proud of you as well. So for me, it is a great honor for us to be presenting a Thomas S. Green Public Service Award to Don Brown, Educator Extraordinaire.
Thank you, Betty. Barbara, and thank you, Betty. I'm honored to receive the Thomas S. Green Award. I'd like to thank the directors of the Research Bureau for selecting me, but my principal, Mr. Williams, and also my assistant principals, Mr. Houlihan and Mr. King, who nominated me. But most of all, I'd like to thank the person who, above all else, is responsible for me being here. That's my wife, Betty. When I was, it's going to sound like it's going to be long, but it won't be. When I was 9 years old, I can remember being on the porch of a 4-decker tenement building in Kilby Street in Maine South, and a new neighbor came up to me. She had baloney curls and freckles. She was 7 years old, and she began to tell me how the great things that I was going to do when I grew up. And she continued to do that through the grade school and high school and beyond. And in high school, I was the captain of the football team and track team, and she was captain of the cheerleaders. You know? And she convinced me that I could run faster, hit harder than I ever thought possible. But the important thing is she kept doing that beyond it. In everything that I did, she would encourage me to that I could do it, that I could do it better. And for that reason, I want to thank you, Betty, for being the most influential person in my life. I accept this award in her honor, but also in behalf of all the teachers in the Worcester Public School System who do the best they can. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. I would like to thank the committee members who participated in the selections: Bob Anderson, Barbara Clifford, Karen Duffy, Mike Grennan, Leah Lamson, Karen Ludington, Joanne O'Leary, Kevin O'Sullivan, Fran Paquette, Roberta Schaefer, and Hank Stoltz. And Hank Stoltz will make the next presentation.
Thank you, Dee. Roberta, I do want to let you know that I ran into Vice President Joe Biden on my way up here. He does want you to know that these awards are indeed a big deal. I told him I was going to Assumption. Well, my name is Hank Stoltz, and I am very pleased to be here this afternoon because there are some questions that I want answered. You see, we come together this afternoon not only to honor Brian Brevillari, but to find out why Mother Nature is so ticked off at this man. Because honestly, Brian is starting to affect the rest of us as well. We have had biblical rains, we have had ice storms, we have had the Asian longhorned beetle, all under your watch. It's true. Now, in Brian's office is a wall that is full of awards, including Forester of the Year. But there is no award that can prepare you for the ALB. That's the Asian longhorn beetle if you're up on the city administration lingo. For once in a lifetime, once in 10 lifetimes, ice storms. There is just no award that can prepare you for that, not to mention, again, these rains that we have had of just really biblical proportions the last couple of days. Brian, I am betting that you have a plan in place at Forestry for the plague of locusts that is sure to be on the way later on this summer. Yet through it all, and I think that this is a big part of the reason why we are here to honor Brian today, is that none of this gets him down. The man thrives on the pressure, the thrill of the last minute. We wrote this introduction in the parking lot out here before we came in. The man lives in the moment because in his job, you don't really know what's around the corner. You just know that you have to be ready for it. You know, I asked Brian to describe a typical day in his department, a typical day on the job, but I think you already get it. There's no such thing. He runs a department of 8 with the philosophy, and I think that this can be said of all of the honorees up here today, with the philosophy, with the understanding that the public comes first. That no matter how angry someone may be when that conversation starts, that a big part of the job is to educate them, so that when the conversation ends, even if they're not always completely happy, they understand. They go away and they're satisfied. And I think that an illustration of this is the replanting of the trees in the city. It's a huge, huge task. And Brian and his people are in the forefront of that. Now imagine someone's planting a tree in your front yard. And guys, I mean, I'm telling you, there's a couple of things that we all know are absolutes in this world, right? One is that if we could just manage the Boston Red Sox, we would do a better job than Terry Francona. And the other is that a guy shows up to plant a tree in your front yard, you know a lot better than he does where that tree should go and what kind of a tree it should be. Frankly, I wouldn't plant one of those. Do you really know what you're doing? Now, I don't know how much Brian, at his size, gets asked these questions, but I'm guessing some of the other guys get asked these plenty. And that's what it's all about. It's about this one-on-one with the public, this way to educate us, to let us know why it is being done in a particular way, and to leave us smiling and knowing that the administration has our best interests at heart. Now, you may think that that's old school, and it really is. Take care of the customer. But I found out that Brian Brevoleri is really about a new way of doing business. He looks at these trials and tribulations that have been thrown his way as opportunity. The opportunity, as Brian said to me in Worcester, to do it right. Not what looks good in a one-day photo op for the paper, but what's best for the city 20, 30, 40, 50 years from today. An amazing opportunity. Of course, an opportunity that everyone wishes had not presented itself, but an opportunity nonetheless. And imagine getting that phone call. We worry about a lot of things in life. My guess is that a few years ago, Asian longhorned beetles was pretty far down on the list of what we were concerned over. So Brian gets that call. Now, it's been 5 good years in forestry, 5 years of helping to guide the city to a brighter future, and he has done that. And, you know, you get a call from the state forester. I mean, he's sitting there in his office, looking at the wall full of plaques. Maybe he's just shined the forester one again. And and he asks, what's up? It's the state forester. Usually a fine thing. This time the state forester says, Brian, we have a problem. What is it? I can't tell you over the phone. I don't care what business you're in. When the guy on the other end tells you, I can't tell you over the phone, you know you're in for it. So here you are on this high. Everything's going great. You're being so incredibly proactive, and then you get that call. The Asian longhorn beetle. And he goes and he meets with everybody in all of the states. But again, this is a proactive person. So here we are, 25,000 tree removals later. As Brian will tell you, the social implication, the frustration of the residents, the economic impact, the historical loss. But this is when great leaders step up. They don't fold, and with a straight face, they can tell you, because they mean it, that now is an amazing opportunity to do it right. Then, of course, we throw in the ice storm, and now, if it is a test, well, Mother Nature is just piling it on, to say the least. All you can do is what Brian said to his crew when that ice storm hit. You come in, you put your feet on the floor, and you get through it. I mean, the ice storm went off to the trees that were still healthy. And a tree is a personal thing. Again, speaking with Brian, having to tell people that a tree needs to be removed, maybe they planted it on Arbor Day in the 4th grade. They're 50 now, and it has to come down. It's a very personal thing, personal, emotional. But speak with Brian for any length of time, and you begin to see not the pain of the tree that must be removed, but the future. The time when the replanting will be done, and when it will have all come back better than before. So thanks to Brian, the people on the front lines are well prepared. The trees are coming. The reforestation is happening. The beetle numbers are decreasing. So if Mother Nature is ticked off at Brian Brevoleri, well, I don't know, probably not. But if she is ticked off at the rest of us, well, thank goodness we have this sense of hope and optimism and your enthusiasm and your will to get things done. As he said to me earlier today, can't wait for the rain to end and the planting to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, Thomas S. Green Public Service Award recipient, Brian Brevoleri. Just step out of your way.
Well, good evening. First, I'd like to thank the Worcester Regional Research Bureau for all their efforts, their time, their dedication, all its members for their efforts in their sponsorship. I'm utterly honored at the things being said here tonight and appreciate it greatly. I'd also like to thank the folks, as Hank had mentioned, that work underneath me, who are out there every day actually physically manipulating our environment proactively. And those are our foresters, your foresters here in Worcester. And those are the staff that work for me. So, and they literally wear the heart of Worcester on their shirt every day. Secondly, most importantly, DPW Commissioner Robert Moylan and his administration. Commissioner Moylan will open up a meeting and look at me at times and look over at me and say, Brian, how much Red Bull have you drinking? How much coffee have you had this morning? Because as many of you may know, I can be very high strung and I drink a lot of coffee and a lot of energy drinks. So that's how Commissioner Moylan prepares himself when I walk into the room. And if I say I've only had a few, he's that much better. His administration, his Assistant Commissioner Rob Antonelli, Parks Commissioner, all his assistant commissioners, Dan Curtis is also here this evening, his assistant Donna DeRico, Ellen Dahlback. These are all people, we all work together. This award's a tribute to all of those people, along with the community, along with our business leaders. Without that momentum, without that excitement, I'm wasting my time. But there's that momentum, there's that excitement, and there's that need to move forward. City Manager Michael O'Brien said, I know that kid can bend spoons with his mind. Well, between Commissioner Moylan and the city manager, I have no choice but to bend spoons with my mind. I have a little story to tell to kind of wrap this up. Over the last 6 months to a year, I have the opportunity to go to municipalities and speak about Asian longhorn beetle. And in the trials and tribulations, we in Worcester, I talk about the social impacts, the environmental impacts, and how we're handling the protocol. We're kind of the go-to people. Unfortunately, I don't have a go-to person, but we're the go-to people here in Worcester. One of the main questions after my presentation is, Brian, how do you do it? And I go, what are you talking about? How do I do it? And all these municipal leaders and, these political leaders, no pun intended, sit there and they got this look on their face. I said, I don't do it. And they'll look, what do you mean you don't do it? We do it in Worcester. We do it together. Commissioner Moylan's staff, city administration staff, Ellen Dahlback's customer service people, the police officers working at night with my staff on making sure they have safety during tree emergencies. School department, we're working with the children daily, education, teaching them about the environment. We do it. It's a cooperation, and it works. So I'd like to thank everybody in this city, residents, Commissioner Moylan for the nomination, the Worcester Research Bureau for everything, and all the nominees and winners up here. Thank you very much.
We are pleased to have each recipient through Worcester businesses and organizations receive gifts. And I would want to publicly thank the Beechwood Hotel for Brunch for Two, Music Worcester for 2 tickets, DCU Center for 2 tickets, Shaftman's for the City of Worcester ornaments, Worcester Telegram and Gazette for photographs, State Senate citations from Senator Chandler, State House of Representatives citations from Representative Evangelitis and O'Day, sole proprietor gift certificates, Worcester Shark game tickets, Worcester Baseball Tornadoes game tickets, the Worcester Credit Union gift bags and saving bonds, Hilton Garden Inn in Worcester for an overnight stay, the Bagel Inn for gift certificates, Hanover Theater for gift certificates, and donation of family memberships for each recipient from the Worcester Art Museum, Higgins Armory, Equatorium, Worcester Historical Museum, and Tower Hill Garden. So we are very pleased that they will receive these in recognition. In recognition of their service to the City of Worcester and the town of Holden. Aaliyah Lampson will be the next person to make the presentation.
Good afternoon. As editor of the Telegram and Gazette, I can tell you we are always looking for good stories to tell. The type of stories that put a spotlight on an individual for an accomplishment that wouldn't ordinarily make the headlines. The individuals honored here today all would be worthy subjects, and I offer my congratulations to each of them. I can also tell you this story will be in the paper tomorrow, and it won't be on B17. My assignment today is to introduce you to Ellen Dalbeck and tell you why she is so deserving of the Thomas S. Green Award. Ellen worked at All-America for 7 years before joining the administrative division of the Department of Public Works and Parks as Senior Customer Service Representative in 2001. She was promoted to Customer Service Manager in 2006 for the department, which undoubtedly has been bombarded with phone calls and complaints after 3 continuous days of rain. But I think the weather gods finally let up on the rain so that Ellen could be with us today. When I called several days ago to chat with her about this award and ask her what she does in her free time, she said, "Well, in the winter, that never happens." I bet Ellen may want to amend that statement to say free time never happens in the spring either. From responding to calls about a water emergency to listening to complaints about potholes, it's amazing that Ellen stays so calm and positive. Perhaps her most telling comment to me was that she and her team don't consider it enough to meet people's expectations. "We really work to exceed residents' expectations," she said. "We make it a point to go above and beyond." I'm sure that point is not lost on the myriad of callers who dial the DPW number and ask to speak to Ellen personally. Great customer service. It's what every business needs, and it is what Ellen and her team provide for the residents of Worcester. Here's another telling remark. Ellen confesses she doesn't like to say no. Now that would be very easy when you're dealing with an angry caller over a mix-up in bulk waste drop-off appointments or demands for sanitation collection. Instead, Ellen will politely and respectfully tell them, "I can't do that, but here's what I can do." Again, great customer service. Ellen estimates the call center gets about 300 calls a day. Since the Customer Service Center also handles some calls for the city manager's office and other city departments, Ellen and her staff handle everything from pothole complaints to "where do I get my birth certificate?" or "where do I go to vote?" Being able to handle not only the sheer volume of calls, but also being knowledgeable about the dozens of city operations is no small feat. During the ice storm of 2008, Ellen estimates she and her crew averaged about 1,200 calls a day and worked pretty much around the clock to keep the lines open. Her boss, DPW Commissioner Bob Moylan, says she can be called upon in the middle of the night to get the center operational as quickly as possible. And like every good working woman, Ellen strives for balance in her life, at least during those months when it's not raining or snowing. I forget, do we have any of those in New England? Doesn't seem like it. She loves to spend time with family, her 2 daughters, Jennifer and Christina, her sisters, and a lot of girlfriends. "We support each other," she said. She also enjoys home repair and all that comes with maintaining an old house. I guess if she encountered a sewer backup, she'd know who to call. And she loves gardening and yard work. No doubt she has the street sweeping schedule memorized. But the real passion in her life these days is Wilson, a 7-year-old Bichon Frise who is the star of grooming videos used by dog trainers in the area. And as any devoted pet lover will tell you, a dog needs his toys. So, like Tom Hanks in the movie Castaway, Ellen thought it would be fitting for him to own a ball with his name on it. His full name is Wilson Winston Churchill Dalbeck, and according to Ellen, he has taught me to be well behaved. For her exemplary customer service, her positive attitude, and her desire to end every phone call with a laugh, I am honored to present the Thomas S. Green Award to Ellen Dalbeck.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the Research Bureau for all the nice, kind words that have been said, especially Commissioner Moylan. Thank you very much for the nomination. I'm fortunate that I work with wonderful management who guides me, gives me their vision, and makes sure that I fulfill it. We do try to take care of our residents, and even sometimes when they start out to be work orders, and Commissioner Moylan once corrected me on this when I said that they were work orders. He said they're service requests, and I had to respectfully disagree and say they're not service requests until we're done with them. So they start out a little difficult. We bring them to a level, and it's a great pleasure. I have a wonderful staff that supports me, management that supports me, and thank you very much.
To put on this ceremony, we need financial support, and I would like to thank the following companies for that support: Abbott Bioresearch Corporation, Bay State Savings Bank, the law firm of Marek O'Connell, N-Star Gas and Electric Company, St. Gobain Corporation, the Checkerboard Limited for the invitations, and the Beechwood Hotel for the recipient's breakfast. The next award will be introduced by Joanne O'Leary.
Good evening, everyone. Over the past few years, I have had the honor of presenting a Thomas S. Green Award to an outstanding municipal employee. This year, I get to honor an employee of the Worcester Police Department, one who has years of experience and one who has recently earned a promotion. The 2010 Thomas S. Green Award will be presented to Deputy Chief Edwin McGinn Jr. for his outstanding leadership. When I first met Deputy Chief McGinn, I was unclear on just how to call him, whether it should be Deputy Chief, Chief. I was a little unsure, and he said simply, "Call me Ed," so I did. And then I asked Ed for an interview to prepare for this evening's ceremony. Despite his new role as Deputy Chief, he graciously gave me his time and attention, and I thank him for that. If you already know Ed, you know that he has a very warm and welcoming smile. Combine that with an outgoing personality, and you have a very approachable leader. Before interviewing Ed, I reread the nomination form sent in about him. Deputy McGinn has a long-standing career with the Worcester Police Department. He has been an officer, sergeant, lieutenant, a detective captain, and as of October 2009, he earned himself the promotion of deputy chief. Pretty impressive, wouldn't you agree? Chief Jemmy stated, "Ed has been a leader in each rank and has taken on many unpopular tasks, such as having been the Internal Affairs Officer for the department." He highlighted Ed's achievements in proposing programs to enhance law enforcement, such as the gun control measures and the establishment of a modern crime laboratory located in the Worcester Police Department headquarters. Chief Jemmy highlighted Deputy McGinn's creation of the department's Unsolved Murder Unit. This caught my attention while reading Ed's nomination form. You see, I just love watching CSI, Criminal Minds, and all of those shows. And now I was going to have an opportunity to meet and interview a man responsible for creating this Unsolved Murder Unit. This unit resulted in Worcester having a 100% clearance rate while Ed was in command of the Detective Bureau. In other words, unsolved Worcester murders dating back 25 years were investigated and solved. I basically spun out of control asking questions during the interview not about his new position, but about the streets of Worcester, gangs, drugs, and the courage it must take to keep the city safe. So what did I learn about Deputy Chief McGinn? He is calm, patient, and an outstanding listener. As the city's new deputy chief, he oversees three divisions: the uninformed services, traffic, and community impact. His responsibilities are endless, but I got the impression that he knows his role and he is proud to be leading these three divisions. Deputy McGinn brings years of experience to his new role. He joined the Worcester Police Department after graduating from the Worcester State College, and he was only 21 years old. While moving up the ranks, Ed continued his education. He earned 2 master's degrees, one in criminal justice, the other in public administration. Ed is a graduate of the FBI National Academy. It has been stated that he is respected by his fellow officers and is viewed in the city administration of being a star performer. Deputy McGinn grew up in Worcester, where his parents, Edward and Patricia McGinn, right here in front of me, still live today. It is clear that Ed loves the city of Worcester and strives to make it better. Ed's achievements go beyond work. What's that saying? Behind every good man is a great woman. Ed's smile truly grows wider with the mentioning of his wife, Carolyn. They have been married for over 20 years and have 2 daughters, Caitlin and Kelly. Caitlin is a freshman at Riviera College in Nashua, New Hampshire, studying to be a nurse, and she is still in college this evening, while his younger daughter, Kelly, is a junior at the Wachusett Junior High School, and I'm told she alone is moving our economy forward by buying the latest fashions. Ed and his family attend St. Patrick's Church in Rutland. He is a past team member and now a coordinator of the Worcester Police Department's Volunteer Honor Guard. This group of officers serves at wakes and funerals of police officers and at the city and departmental service ceremonial events. So Deputy Chief McGinn has a passion for life, family, and work. I am so very pleased to present the 2010 Thomas S. Green Award to Deputy Chief Edward J. McGinn, Jr.
Who is that guy? I'd love to meet him. I thank you for honoring me with this award. In view of the other 4 Thomas Green Award recipients this evening, as well as the 79 past recipients, I'm just truly humbled with them to be included among them. Today, I accept this award on behalf of all the police officers in the city of Worcester who day in, day out, go out and fight the good fight, treating the people who deserve it well, and the people who victimize others, well, they have the pejorative end of the law enforcement scheme. But it's these officers who go out every day doing their best, and what they've created is a safe city, and one of the safest cities in the Northeast. I know these accomplishments are a source of pride to our department, and they should be the city residents as well. We know that public safety is a costly endeavor for the city, and we take very seriously our responsibility to ensure a safe city and for all our residents, and to properly and effectively steward the resources allocated to us. Law enforcement isn't cheap, and we know all of our residents pay dearly for it via the property taxes and through the funds we get from the state. And we know that and respect that, and we're trying to do everything we can each day to make this the safest city in the Northeast. As I mark my 25th year with the Worcester Police Department, I would certainly be remiss if I did not recognize that this is about the 25th anniversary of the Research Bureau. And for that, I congratulate the Bureau, its board, and especially Dr. Roberta Schaefer, who's been with us since its inception. Congratulations. I also need to thank Chief Jim and City Manager O'Brien for placing their confidence in me and placing me with an opportunity to run a major portion of this department. I relish that responsibility, and it's my erstwhile desire to do the best I can for the city. And lastly, and again, I need to thank my wife Carolyn for putting up with my nonsense for 21 years, for waking me up at 3 o'clock in the morning saying, "There's another homicide, you gotta go," and pushing me out of the house. And also for my folks, Pat and Ed McGinn, are here today, for instilling me a sense of public service and dedication to others. My father was an educator with the Worcester Public Schools for years, well over 30 years, and my mother a nurse at St. V's for over 30 years. So once again, I thank you for this honor, and I appreciate it.
After all these wonderful speakers, I find myself in a position of having a lot of great acts to follow. I'm so happy to be here again today to present an award that's so very important. You know, and I know, that public employees are often undervalued. It's a joy to recognize people who serve the public because they care about the public. These are people who love their communities, and they've dedicated their working lives to serving their communities and to improving them, to making them better. And they're very, very special people. All of these folks go way beyond what's expected of them. That's why they're here today. You know that awful old saying that I hate, close enough for government work? Well, that phrase was never uttered by any of these people today. And I stand here to recognize them and to thank them as being leaders in our communities. It's particularly satisfying for me personally today to be able to recognize a public employee whom I have known and respected for many years. I lived for a long time in Holden, and I was quite active in the town, serving on boards and committees and so on. And so I knew I could always count on Judy to help me to support the boards and committees that I served on, to be a resource for the whole town. Judy Sykes has worked for the town of Holden for 24 years, although if you look at her, you would never believe that it was that long. She was nominated for the Thomas S. Green Award by her boss as of last fall, Brian Bullock, then town manager in Holden. Brian talked about Judy's willingness to take on new responsibilities, and he emphasized that over and over again in her nomination papers. He credited her with taking over the town's loss control policies, and by doing so, she made the workplace safer, and all of us in municipal work appreciate this, she earned the town of Holden cash credits worth over $50,000. And Judy did all this despite the fact that loss control was never part of her job description. Brian told us that Judy now coordinates human resources and purchasing for the town, again, more than she was hired to do. And speaking as someone who was in human resources for a long time myself, heaven bless her, she also puts together the budget for the manager and the town selectmen. Brian says that with Judy, it's all about attitude, attitude, attitude. So when I met with Judy in preparation for today, I asked her what makes her so good at her job. Her first and strongest response was that she loves solving problems for Holden's citizens. I cannot imagine a description of a public employee that is more impressive than that. She also said she loves following something through from the beginning to the end, and don't we all wish everyone we worked with had that level of commitment? Judy began her working career actually here at Assumption. So there's something very fitting about her being recognized today. But when she left Assumption, that was the college's loss and Holden's gain. She began as a part-time employee for Holden, and then she became the senior clerk in the town manager's office before she was promoted to administrative assistant to the manager. She's also active as a volunteer with the Holden Cultural Council. I'm really pleased that some of Judy's family can be here today. Her daughter is here, one of her daughters, and her two handsome grandsons from Connecticut. I know she's very proud of you young men, and I hope you are very, very proud of your grandmother. It's with great pleasure and pride that I present the 2010 Thomas S. Green Award to Judith Sykes.
Thank you, Karen. That was quite an introduction. I want to thank the entire Research Bureau and especially Brian Bullock for the nomination. It was a total surprise, and I can't believe he had the patience to do it. It truly is a great honor to be the recipient, and I thank everyone. I thank all my family and friends. I was going to recognize Alec and Nicholas. Thank you, boys, for being here. And especially my fellow Town of Holden employees, without whose support and none of this would be possible. And it's my fellow employees in the building in which I work declared today Judy Sykes Day. It was such a nice celebration, I requested it be made an annual event. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for coming.
It's our tradition that we end the ceremony with the mayor, but we have a special presentation today. So I'd like to ask Dr. Schaefer to come up to make that special presentation.
As you know, it's unusual for me to say anything at this event. This is a time that the Research Bureau takes a back seat, and we love to have the celebration all about the recipients who deserve this award so well. But today is a little bit different, and the Research Bureau felt that we could not let this occasion go by where we recognize outstanding public employees without paying special tribute to Brian Bullock, the recently retired town manager of Holden. He served that community so ably for a quarter of a century. There are many assembled in this room today who can speak with much more knowledge than I about his many accomplishments in Holden and beyond, and the outstanding quality of his management and public service. I, however, would like to take a minute to focus on his relationship with the Research Bureau. I got to know Brian well when we began down the road of trying to make this area into an effective region, not just to save money on the duplication of services, but to have a more powerful voice in the state legislature as well. It would take me the remainder of the day to describe the many bumps in the road that we have traveled. But what struck me most about Brian's professionalism was his professionalism, perseverance, outspokenness, and wonderful sense of humor. In brief, I thought I had found a soulmate. During the past 2 years, Brian and Holden have been a part of the New England State's Performance Measurement Project. Again, it would take me until the wee hours of the morning to describe where we have been with this project. Suffice it is to say that Brian exhibited the same wonderful and admirable characteristics. That's just Brian. I hope that his departure from Holden does not signal an end to his friendship with the Research Bureau and to me personally, but rather just another bump in the road that we will continue to travel to bring well-managed government and the judicious expenditure of taxpayer dollars to the citizens of this area. Thank you, Brian. Would you please come forward? I'll ask Holden to come. So we have our own special citation for Brian. It's a certificate of recognition presented to Brian Bullock with deepest respect for your many accomplishments in and service to the town of Holden, the Central Massachusetts region, and the Commonwealth, and for your professionalism and friendship with the Research Bureau.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to ask Representative Evangelitis to come up for just a second and to make a presentation to Brian.
The only other guy on the podium is tall as Brian. Anyway, thank you for giving me a moment to address you, and I'd like to congratulate the Research Bureau and Assumption College. And on a personal note to Assumption College, I'd like to say thank you. In 8 years as a representative, having 7 towns I represent, I live right over the border on Salisbury Street in Holden. This is probably the closest to home I've been in 8 years at an event, so very special. And congratulations to everyone today. Before I acknowledge Brian, I just wanted to say that I do know Ed and Judy over the years and the respect you have in the community, but what a pleasure it's been here tonight to hear of all the great works that Brian and Don and Ellen that you've done in the community. It's really been wonderful. You get to come to events, and that's the best part of being an elected official, is to just be part of these ceremonies and hear of the great works they do. And congratulations to you and joining the distinguished group that we've seen who have received these in the past 20 so years. But today I'm here to make a presentation to my good friend Brian Bullock, and I will say it was extraordinarily joyous for me to realize I'd have a chance to embarrass Brian one more time, because Brian retired after, how many years was it, Brian? 20? Okay, we'll leave it at that. But when Brian, we gave him the citation at the, I gave him one, and probably, Brian, you may have received more citations from me than anyone in my district, but that is because Brian is an extraordinary person, and I really mean, when I talk about being a town manager's town manager, I want you to know Brian Bullock is one of the most respected people in the Commonwealth, and when people would tell me, the other town manager would say, when we go to the Mass Municipal Association, and there was a presentation being put on by Brian Bullock, everyone there would go to that presentation, because that's the respect that Brian had amongst his peers. And in the town, we always said about Brian, and no disrespect to Nancy, you've got big shoes to fill, but we always said that we'll only recognize how good we had it with Brian once he's gone. And I will tell you, the opportunity to come today and present you with another citation for the great work you've done is a truly honor, Brian. And I didn't even turn around when they mentioned that you would be receiving this award. I think it was a surprise, because I knew the look you had on your face when they introduced you. But nonetheless, I do have a great honor to present to you, both from myself and Senator Chandler, a citation. And when you're the representative who's here and the senator isn't, you read your own, of course. But nonetheless, I am here on behalf of both of us. Senator Chandler and I have spoken about this, how much respect we have for you, Brian. We've been together many times. Just one brief personal moment. I mean, I'll never forget the day of the ice storm, as we all won't. And that day, Brian and I spoke very early and very often. And Brian actually picked me up, and we drove around and saw the devastation and destruction. And it's something I'll never forget as long as I live. And Brian was the first one really to show me this when we got the lieutenant governor and the governor to come out, and all the great work our public people did. And what a time for our community. And Brian played such an important role in getting Holden back on its feet. So, Brian, it's a tremendous honor to be here to present you citations from both the House of Representatives and the State Senate. It's to Brian Bullock in recognition of your receiving the Thomas S. Green Lifetime Achievement Award for your dedicated service to the people of Holden, the 31st of March, 2010, offered by both myself and Senator Chandler on behalf of the House and Senate. Congratulations, Brian.
Unaccustomed as I am, I do want to thank Assumption College, first of all. I'm trying to find where my daughter's tuition money has been spent. I'm sure it's here someplace and been put to good work. I want to thank the Research Bureau. Roberta Schaefer is a gem in this Central Mass community. I don't know if folks realize the engine that she runs as part of that Research Bureau. Her, Jean, it's a limited staff. Jean is just a dynamo. They do it with very little, and they do a terrific job. These awards are meaningful because of the quality of the folks sitting to my left, and I thank them. I thank the Bureau. I thank Lou for the proclamation, and I thank you for your indulgence in having me stand up here and speak. So good night.
I want to echo Brian. Roberta and Jean have done a tremendous job every year, and I thank them on behalf of the Board of Directors of the Research Bureau. The Mayor of Worcester will now come up to make the final presentation, and there is a reception across the hall when this concludes. Mayor O'Brien.
Great. Obviously, you know that our good friend Attorney Musk is always very well organized. He actually, while he was waiting, he put them all in the correct order for me. So obviously, you know, no wonder he's been so successful. But just real quickly in closing, I get one of the most wonderful things about being the mayor of the city is that you get to give out some small tokens of the city's appreciation for when wonderful things happen and people do tremendous work. So, and one of the, I think, the highest honors we present to people is a key to the city. I'm told it doesn't open a lot of doors, but certainly is a key to our hearts. So it's my pleasure to present keys to the city. They all read as follows. A key to the city of Worcester, Massachusetts, presented first to our good friend, Brian Brevolari, our great forester. Thank you, Brian. Our second goes to the incredible educator, and I must say I went to Forest Grove myself, and I'm really disappointed, actually, you weren't there when I was there. So, but thank you. The next key of the kitty goes to our great educator, Donald Brown. Thank you, Mr. Brown. As someone who's called the customer service line many times looking for help, it's a great honor to present a key to the city to Ellen Dahlbeck. The next goes to someone who I've had the pleasure of working with, a tremendous asset, as we've heard all the great stories about, our good friend, Deputy Chief Edward J. McGinn. Thank you. And thanks, and finally, and actually here, after hearing about all our wonderful work, I think we want to actually see if we can hire away from the beautiful town of Holden. And to make an honorary member of our Worcester family, I'd like to present a key to the city to Judah Sykes. Judah.
I would like to thank all of you for coming tonight on this bad weather day, the third one in a row. And this is the conclusion of the ceremony, and you're welcome to join us for the reception afterwards. Thank you.